It's times like this that I feel like I'm being thrown back several months or throughout the last year and going back to 2015 and 2016 when establishment Democrats talked about what jerks and assholes all these Bernie bros are. The people that defends Bernie Sanders. It seems like we can go and beat up on Bernie Sanders and make fun of his supporters and say he's an old white man that's out of touch and 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 he's too far in love. You get the idea. And it's moments like this that the really bad caricature of those angry Bernie bros comes out on me. I am trying not to be angry. I'm trying not to be angry. But Bill Clinton pissed me off this past week. He really did. I have said that there's two people I have regretted voting for in my life. I regretted voting for Bill Clinton in 1992 because, you know, the sack of shit that he is. Pardon my language. No, hell with it. No, he's a sack of shit. The other was somebody I worked with in the 1992 Bill Clinton Al Gore campaign locally, who turned out to be a well-known, went from being relatively progressive to being a well-known right-wing extremist, Bill Ging. The two bills, I voted for him for city council when he was supposedly liberal in 1995. Regretted that. If I could take back that vote and take back my vote for Bill Clinton in 1992, what a wonderful world it will be. But anyway, um, and I will tell you, that was just an opportunity to make a cheap jab at William Ging, too. Getting back to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton made a comment during the memorial service for the late John Lewis, Congressman of Georgia. During the funeral, you had George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton. It's funny that the person I'm the least mad at for once is George W. Bush, who I still say is America's worst president, including the current clown in office now. And that says a lot. But even George W. Bush, just kind words toward John Lewis. I'll have to alleviate my anger for a moment from George W. Bush and commend him for doing so. Barack Obama's words were good too. Bill Clinton pissed me off because what he did is that he went with the eulogy and the kind words for John Lewis, and then took a moment to wave his hand at Congressman Jim Clyburn of South Carolina and basically thank him for putting an end to a faction fight within the Democratic Party presidential primaries. In other words, stage one happened in 2016. Bernie Sanders' primary was rigged against him. He was cheated in 2016. In 2020, he was cheated again, a second time. And everybody tells me I'm a conspiracy nut for saying, oh, he wasn't cheated. People are just not interested in Bernie Sanders' message. Bull. I'm backtracking during the primaries because the campaign isn't over. Joe Biden might be the nominee. I might even end up voting for him, as sick to the stomach I am about that. What happened? What happened is that the primary was rigged twice, and Bill Clinton admitted it. He admitted it. He thanked Jim Clyburn. You see, what happened, Bernie Sanders was on his way to winning. I don't care what people say about Pete Buttigieg in Iowa. Bernie Sanders won it. They tried to steal it from him in Iowa. They tried stealing it from him again in New Hampshire. And then when Bloody Monday came and all the centrists dropped out, Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, all of these folks, and Berto O'Rourke down in Texas endorsing Joe Biden, and Elizabeth Warren not dropping out to specifically hurt him, Bernie Sanders in Massachusetts. You're telling me that this primary wasn't rigged? You're telling me that? I try not to be. I've been trying to not be angry, but it is absolutely this kind of thing that just brings out the anger in me. We have. It's bad enough we have a Republican Party out there. You know, the 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 official corporatist party in the United States is corporatist. Is foreign policy visions imperialism. Its domestic views are intolerant. That's the modern Republican Party. Then you got the diet Republicans called the Democrats. They've been taken over by people like Bill Clinton back in the 1980s and 1990s. And they turned what was kind of more or less an unofficial Labor Party, an unofficial Social Democratic Party, and made it into the vomit that the Republican Party is. Just a lighter shade of puke. And Bill Clinton is at the core of why the Democratic Party is garbage today. I am forced to vote for somebody I despise. I despise Donald Trump, but I also despise Joe Biden. Because of the shenanigans that was pulled several months ago. You don't know how dirty I'm going to feel doing this in the fall. Bill Clinton. We're talking about a man that not only took over the Democratic Party in the late 80s, early 90s, and Reaganized the party. He wanted to prove how tough he was on crime, and he temporarily stopped touring on his campaign, and he flew right back into Arkansas to oversee an execution of an African American man to prove how tough he is on crime. Anybody knows me knows how I feel about capital punishment. It's evil. It's evil. The death penalty is racist and it's evil. Bill Clinton turned the Democratic Party into garbage by incorporating a lighter strain of Reaganomics in the Democratic Party, Republicanizing the Democratic Party. And everybody thinks he's a rock star. I mean, he's not as hateful as Hillary Clinton, but for that matter, neither is Joe Biden. But this calculation, this effort to, I know it, as I have to reiterate this, it's really not about Bernie Sanders, although it looks like it, because it took one man that realized how much this country lacks the common sense with a stupid right of center Overton window that defines the American political culture. And the Democratic Party just sat there and just play by Republican rules. And it took an outsider to say, hey, stop being diet Republicans. Go back to the FDR direction. Bernie Sanders did that in 2016, did that this year, to try to turn the Democratic Party back more into the FDR direction and try to screech it in the soft Reagan direction that's been for basically the last generation. You know, there's a reason why this convention, yeah, COVID, I understand COVID, but there's more than just COVID involved. They also don't want to see the Bernie Sanders people being as unruly as they were in 2016. My problem with the Bernie Sanders supporters in 2016, they weren't unruly enough. Our candidate was stolen from us. We have people in charge that do not want common sense social democracy. Policies which are practiced by our best friends across the pond. Yeah, Great Britain, Germany, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Canada, up north, down under, Australia, Japan. All these societies made healthcare a right for every man, woman, and child living in their nations. This is why they're able to combat COVID successfully. And we got two presidential candidates that we're faced with. Both really do know that Medicare for all is the way to go. Joe Biden knows it, but he's bought and paid for by the insurance companies. Donald Trump, when he was a liberal, was on record in the late 1990s, early 2000s, favoring single payer Medicare for all. But because you can't get away with being for Medicare for all in the Republican Party, what little good that could have potentially exist with him makes him just another Republican, which is bad enough. This process, this rigging that goes on, I just don't understand it. I mean, I just want to say the hell with everything and boycott this election. And I could have been persuaded to do that even a short time ago. But because we have looming fascism around the corner, where we have people on top wanting to go and destroy political dissent, arresting peaceful protesters. Yes, yes, the majority of the people who are protesting against the police brutality in this country, the majority of them, we're talking about Black Lives Matter, we're talking about Antifa, we're talking about people on the broad left. They're out there protesting. 99% of them are peaceful protesters. But you see, that 99% who are peaceful protesters, they don't want those 99% to be out there protesting. The powers that be wants to put them behind bars. They want to shut them up, silence them, censor them. And when you have right-wing ranchers like Ammon Bundy that gets it, I don't see why people, even Republicans who adore Donald Trump, should realize how dangerous it is to impose the Insurrection Act and to crack down on dissent. If Ammon Bundy can get it, why can't so-called sensible Republicans be able to come and draw the same conclusion? I'm sidetracking again, but it all comes back to this. We have a government that is controlled by big business, the military industrial complex, and they don't want any voice for justice, economic justice to be there to to implement sensible policies which are enacted even by our allies. And right wingers, don't throw the Venezuela straw man at me. Every time I sit there and I advocate sensible social democracy, you just want this country to be like Venezuela. No, don't. Don't want it to be like Venezuela currently. I don't want Venezuela to be the way it was when right wing oligarchs ruled the country, thus creating a situation for Chavez and Maduro. I want a social democratic Venezuela. I want a social democratic United States. I want a social democratic Russia. I want a social democratic Iran. I want a social democratic Israel. I want a social democratic UK. I want a social democratic Brazil. I want every country to experience the wonders of social democracy. At least it's a force in the majority of the countries I mentioned. Some countries, not so much. But here we have oligarchs that do not want us to have that conversation. This is why they saw Bernie Sanders as a threat. They don't want to talk about social democracy. And my response is this is why you force them to have that conversation. Corporate America, I don't care that you don't want to talk about social democracy. Democrats, Republicans, I don't care that you don't want to talk about it. We need it. It's been said that Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal saved capitalism from itself. And if you want America to be saved, I don't care from what end of the spectrum you are politically, you better start listening to people like Bernie Sanders. I'm angry. I'm not even gonna. I mean, you know what I say at the end of these videos. Yeah, subscribe, share, like or dislike, and comment. But that's pretty much all I'm going to say today because I'm too hot under the collar for what I just witnessed this past week. Again, I'm sorry I voted for Bill Clinton in 1992. No, I wouldn't have voted for George Herbert Walker Bush because remember, I loathe and despise the Bush family. But I loathe and despise the Clintons too. I loathe and despise Joe Biden, and I loathe and despise Donald Trump. And we're the American people lost the 2020 election, no matter who wins. Just remember that.